Asaf, Chris.
Yes.
Hey
Yes.
guys. Hey
Yes.
guys. How are we? Oh my god, I saw
We
some
hear you.
action already. Can you hear me? You don't hear
Yes,
me.
I think
You
We,
hear
I
so.
me?
hear you well. I hear you well.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
okay.
All right.
There's already action in the Kabbalah info chat. Azarel is streaming this show to Castbox. So whoever is out there in Castbox, somehow let us know who you are and where you are this time, next time. Um, That's amazing. So thank
Yeah.
you, Azarel. And wherever you are out there in the Middle East or the middle of wherever you are, um, we feel you. We're connected. That's very cool. Slightly Slanted is fishing. Hello, Slightly Slanted. Hope everything goes well out there. Bring home dinner. And everyone, Jetsi and Annie and Julie and Mohammed in Turkey. All right. Oh, there's fires in Turkey. We're going to talk about some fires today. And Seraphim is in Sacramento. Hopefully Sacramento's not on fire. That's good. So, and hi Hadul. And I don't have the other chat open
Do
yet,
you
but
know that we have also Radif from Bangladesh?
I didn't know that. Hey Radif.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I got the other great transition channel open. So hi Patricia. Patricia, I think you should have your book. I saw you ordered a book. Hopefully you have it already. And hey Kevin in Spain. And hello everyone. So here we are in the
Yes.
great transition. Welcome once again. It's great to see you guys. Chris, I know you're there behind the scenes. I sent you a bunch of images. Hopefully you can pull those up today for the show. It's going to be a very interesting and exciting show today. Asaf, we're looking at the world through what's going on in the news through the lens of the wisdom of Kabbalah, exploring what the Kabbalists say about beyond the news. Actually, we're looking at the news on the one hand, and then on the other hand, we're looking
Right.
at this infinite wisdom.
The
And
why
I've heard a few.
behind the news. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
We're exploring what humanity is going through in this period that we're calling the Great Transition. And that's what we're doing here. So, welcome everyone. Okay, good. Patricia, I see. I have to not look at the chat during the show because I get distracted. But hey, Patricia, I'm glad you got the book. That's awesome.
We glimpse here and there
Okay.
in any case. Definitely.
I'm trying to
We
glimpse, but I
do.
can't. I
Yeah.
can't speak to you and look in your eyes, and also and read all the chats without being distracted. Oh boy. So there is a lot going on in the world out there. When we arrive at the wisdom of Kabbalah, we start acquiring a bunch of tools. Um, I
Right.
ran into I ran into so many problems this week. In addition to all of the regular problems, I just had like a few kind of personal-ish things, not really big on the scale of like the floods and fires and the viruses and things we're going to talk about,
Hmm.
but personal things that seem like they're huge. There's some people that are close to me that I am not so good at communicating to them, and one of them said to me this week, "Is like, you talk with so much certainty." Like you don't leave any room for another opinion. You act like what you're saying is the truth. And I realize that's my problem. It's not their problem. I'm not speaking in a way all the time. I'm trying as much as possible. That's what we're trying to do here is how do we take all of this wisdom of Kabbalah and speak in a normal language with people without sounding like doomsayers, because we're not. We're the most optimistic that every single person on earth is going to feel connected and feel love. I mean, that's
This
the
is the
goal.
thing, though. On the one hand, as you know, as a Kabbalist, you sound like the most utopian, unrealistic, far-fetched person. From one perspective. On the other hand, you sound like the worst doomsday prophet. This earth has seen. It
Totally.
all
That's
it
what
all
I'm going
depends on
through.
how what angle you're talking from,
Right. So they're
and
like, what are you talking about? Why are you always so pessimistic? Why do you think everything's going down? And I'm like, no, I don't. I think everyone should
yeah,
love each other. I think we should all be love and everyone should,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, you're right. We have to get much,
Hmm.
much better at this. So
Yeah. No. It
what
reminds
happens?
me. It reminds me of conversations, definitely for sure, that I've had, especially it happens with family members.
Yeah.
There's yeah. It's like the I
So it
remember.
was mostly, sorry, go ahead.
Anyway, yeah. No. Just
I was mostly in the
tons of
cave about it.
examples. Yeah.
There's a lot of beginner examples. You come on the path and you want to start telling everybody about everything, but after a while, you get the hang of it. You get the hang of like how to live in your
Hmm.
Kabbalah world and how to be in the normal world. But I guess that during this like year and a half of being in the pandemic, where like really like being in a cave and just being so immersed, like coming back out and seeing everyone again and talking to people and being in their homes and everything like that, I lost that filter kind of, on
Mm.
social media when I post things. It's like very direct, short, quick lines. Doesn't work with people as well when you're talking to people. So anyway,
Mm.
but the benefit that we have here is most of the people, I think, or a lot of the people who are tuning in here already have
But you know
some
what? You know what?
experience.
But let me just add to one reservation to this. On
Okay.
the other hand, I mean, I remember like a conversation years ago, several years ago, with someone from the family. I'm not gonna mention not my direct family, but like a close relative. And I was just telling him, like, he's a business guy. I was telling him, look, automation is gonna happen big time. There's gonna be a revolution. It's inevitable. It's has to do with how we gradually delegate what we do to machines, and we have to make room for starting to be able to engage in what we are actually as humans. And so this is something that's just going to happen inevitably. And that went into like a whole, what are you talking about, how can that happen? And several years later, you know he sends me like an article or something, going like, well, looks like what you were talking about is actually happening. You know what I mean? So there's also a question of timing, I guess. There's a question of timing too.
um,
Now,
which
think
article
about
is it?
think about the great Kabbalists of the previous centuries. Think about what Bar Sulam had to uh, must have felt when he saw exactly where the world is going to. And
Until the
yeah,
invention of the radio, for example, you
yeah,
couldn't even explain this concept that I'm going to send a signal here and it's going to fly through the air over there and then you're going
right.
to hear what's going on over here. But once the science advanced to the point that you can have a radio,
Mm,
now you can explain certain concepts to people. So, right, Bala Sulam was explaining things to people that even today our technology didn't catch up to what the Kabbalists are saying in a way to, I mean, we can explain electrical circuits. Today, we're going to talk about a lot of interesting things that science is showing us about interconnection, which will
hmm.
be very cool. And
Okay.
hopefully, it'll do
So
just
don't let
that.
me interrupt you with all my tangents, Seth. Come on.
Actually, I
Get.
feel like I'm interrupting your tangents. They're good ones.
Okay.
When we
Just
arrive
go.
at the wisdom
Yeah.
of Kabbalah, we start to acquire some tools. And with these tools, it helps us build our new perception of reality. That's the problem that I'm having when I'm speaking to people and I don't share the language with them. It's much more difficult. So people who are already on the path, they already have some of these tools and are using some of these tools. So then the conversation can get more nuanced and you can get in deeper. One of those first tools, one of those first concepts we learn about is the four phases of direct light, right?
Right.
So you have endless light, Ein Sof,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have, which we don't really talk about, the thought of creation. We don't have anything to touch endless light. There's no way to speak about it, attain endless light like that. So the light, the Ein Sof, the creator, but what comes out of that, this direct light that comes out of that, already we can start to measure that. And what the Kabbalists start to measure is they use this pattern, whatever, this structure of four coming out of that
Yeah.
of that Ein Sof. Okay, so this four, and everyone in the wisdom of Kabbalah starts learning about what this is, the four phases of direct light, and the different parts of the soul, and the different parts of the vessel, and the different parts of the Partsuf, and all these things. Um, After many operations, this 444 and all these other numbers and different things that are happening, we end up all the way down at the bottom of the world of Asiya, all the way down at this world down here that we're in, that called this world, this imaginary upside down world that we're in. And then the process returns back to wholeness, and that's the process from below to above that we're in now. And that same four, that same process of four, goes from inanimate, the
Right.
earth, basically the whole planet, all the stuff inside of it, hard minerals and everything inside of it, and then vegetation. We're going to look at some images of this today, and then plants, which live on that, and then, of course, human. So when we're talking about the great transition here, it's not like we have a crystal ball, for example. When we see that there's a virus, right, and we see floods and fires, that's the inanimate level. So naturally, how will as nature is pressing us forward, what would be the next? What comes after inanimate? Vegetative. So
Right.
then we see nature kind of attacking or pressing on the vegetative degree. And then what would come after that? Problems with food or animals or things like that. And of course, then once you get to the human degree, then now you're talking about like nuclear war. Now you're talking about humans, the problems happening on the human level. So let's go all the way back. But that already, you have a framework
Oh,
for it. It's not
that
a
what you just said, I mean, that brief explanation, I mean, for for us, we can talk about it very, quickly, but I think that needs to be unpacked if you're hearing it for the first time for sure, but even if you're hearing it for the 10th time. It's not that you can't just, you know
that's the problem of being in the cave so long.
no, I mean,
I
okay,
need to speak to people.
we probably don't want to go deep into this right now, right? So I'll maybe let me just add a few words.
Okay.
So that structure of four that you were talking about, the four phases of direct light, it's important to understand that it is the structure of the substance of creation. It's the process by which the matter of creation was created, and therefore that structure, so it's like the structure that shapes everything in reality, because everything is made up of the same substance, which is ultimately desire. And that's why it always develops in these four levels. So humanity too, when we in our own development, we also go through levels 1, 2, 3, and 4, or still vegetative, animate, and human, of the human level. So, you know, that's
So
an
within the
addition.
human level
Yeah.
itself, there's also those four.
Yes, exactly. And
Right.
when we're
Right.
talking about the great transition that is happening in our time, when we're talking about this unique, multifaceted transformation that the 21st century is presenting before us, we're talking about humanity rising to the human level of the human level. That's essentially, until the
So,
16th century or so, we
so,
were
so
still
we call that the
developing.
Renaissance, right? Is that around the Renaissance when the
Yeah,
RE
yes,
hit the
yes,
scene? So
yes.
humanity was still so there was the inanimate level of humanity, the vegetative level of humanity, and that's like the animate level of humanity. And then from
Right.
the RE
And
on, we're
and
entering.
yes, and on the face of it, on the outside of it, we see these huge changes, like you said, Renaissance, like changes in culture, changes in communication networks, like, the printing press, the telephone communications, the internet. It's like, changes in economics, changes in our industrial capacity, in our ability to produce. All of those are going through an upgrade every time that we go through a leap. Now, if you look on the outside, you just say, okay, that's just historical details. If you look on the inside, you see that template that we're going through these levels: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the structure of the desire that is evolving in this through this template, because it was created in four phases of direct light. What is
So,
that?
so
Did you
this is
want?
great. This is
Yeah.
great. Yeah,
Okay.
this is great. So I'm also getting some questions this week, like, well, there's always been floods, man. Why don't you
Right.
keep it down about your problems? Because
Right.
everyone's got problems, and there's always been floods, and there's always been fires, and there's always been earthquakes. He's like, what happened before humans were there? Okay, yes, there always has been. The whole point of the whole thing is for humanity to bring the whole thing into balance. For example, you want to build a nuclear bomb. You got to take a lot of things and put them together and enrich uranium, and then you got to put it into a missile, and you got to do this stuff, and then you got to build all the electronics, and then at the end, I'm going to simplify it, there's one button.
Yeah. Right.
At the end, after all and
Okay.
all the posturing and the war and the
Mm-hmm.
negotiations and the trade embargoes
Right.
and everything, at some point there's one
Someone
there's one
has to
final
press
there's one
this
final
button.
button, whether it's two
Yeah.
keys like the old 80s
Mm-hmm.
movies or however it is. At the end, there's some command that that somebody does,
Yeah.
and it sets the whole thing into action.
Hmm.
That's the human towards all of humanity. We have to just do that one press of the
Towards
button,
all of
and all
nature, you mean?
towards, yeah, that's what I say, towards all of humanity, towards all of the levels. So
Right.
all of this, everything that's been happening up until now has been, the bomb is not a good example. We're not talking about the whole earth exploding, but all of the things that have happened have been getting the materials together, preparing everything for humanity to come into balance. That's the pushing of the button, and then the whole system comes into balance. So yeah, there were fires before. We didn't get, until the last thing you do kind of is build the button and connect it.
Hmm.
So everything before that, there's still a lot of things happening. There were fires, there were floods, there were all of these things until we get to humanity, which is the pinnacle of this whole process. And from humanity, that's the one who presses pressing that button is making those hearts unite, and then the whole system whoosh comes into
And
harmony
and
together.
also, I don't care how many volcanoes and earthquakes and extinctions, even existed. There were, I think scientists say, five extinctions, mass extinctions so far, and we're entering
Yeah,
the
right.
sixth now. So all of that happened, yeah, sure, but I, I don't care how long the list is. You never had a globally connected, globally interdependent species of mankind on the planet ever before. This is the new thing that exists in the natural system that did not exist before. We were never such there was never such a species connected across the planet, and that means that there is a relationship with the natural laws that now applies to us, which did not apply before. And th- what does nature want at the end of the day? It's the simplest thing. You said it between the words, right? In a word, it's balance. That's it. At the end of the day, that's what nature does. It knows how to balance all of its elements, all of its creatures, all of its processes. It just does that, and it does that automatically. All of the still and vegetative and animate levels of nature are just instinctively always carry out this dynamic equilibrium. They know how to give and receive in a balanced way. And then when you get to the human level, that's where things go off balance, off track. That's where things are getting out of whack. And there's, you know, a good reason for that. And that's exactly that. On the other hand, that imbalance that we pose in nature, that enables us to click, to actively, consciously, independently click that button that says balance. You
Right.
know?
So imagine it
Yeah.
takes like 1,000 pounds of pressure of the light in order to push our hand into to press the button. But
Mm.
actually, that 1,000 pounds, imagine there's like a machine, a device, and as you push it takes 1,000 pounds to push the material through the device, and you push the material through the device, and all of the minerals form into some kind of vegetative, into some kind of animal, until he pushes out at the end. He becomes a human. You push a human out the other end of
Mm.
the. You put the mud in the back, mix in the
Uh-huh.
water, and then 1,000 pounds of pressure, and you push out. But not only are you pushing, are you making a form as he comes out the other end. He's also developing. In this process, he's also developing mind and emotions. So until you have 1,000 pounds, you can't really push him out all the way. But once you have that 1,000 pounds, you push him out, and he's this spiritual person. Let's say.
Right. Uh,
Let
except
me let
that.
me let me try and get the example out, and then you'll tell me
Ah,
you'll
okay.
you'll work with it.
Mm.
So it takes 1,000 pounds of pressure to do that, right? So here's the issue we're having now. That 1,000 pounds of pressure is just beating on us in the form in it's just beating on us. It's pushing us. However, because we have the wisdom of Kabbalah in our hands, which is this blueprint, And we have a heart and a mind that developed. It's been pushed through this process far enough that the heart and the mind developed. Now, that 1,000 pounds of pressure, instead of just accepting it as blows that are pushing us through, we can already start to um, to agree with it, to participate with it, to move with it together. And then we go through it in a much more comfortable, pleasant way. We're still going to be pushed out to the other side into being spiritual beings, but the 1,000 pounds of pressure that's pushing this matter through the tube, um, we're going to cooperate with that
Yeah,
light
that's
that's
the only
pushed.
thing I was going to add actually. Yeah, that in our case we have to kind of push ourselves through it or agree to get into that tube or you know, we have to sign something that says yes, we're going
I
through.
agree.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so we've been dealing with the virus. Okay, now let's jump into it. Okay, we've been dealing with the virus for a year and a half. We got Delta, we got Lambda. Who knows what's next on this on the virus? Then recently, now we got floods. Let me just tell you what's going on here from the last few days. Floods in India, talking about this globally connected world. Floods in Trinidad and Tobago. Floods in Iran. Floods. I think we said India and Sudan.
Mm.
In the Philippines, in the United States, in Niger, in Afghanistan, in Colombia, in Chad. This is every continent.
This is floods everywhere, all these
Floods.
places.
You can go to
Hmm.
floodlist.com if you want to see like all of these floods all around the world. Floodlist.com. That's where I'm looking. Um, Unbelievable. Okay, and we also know I'm sure you can find the same thing on fires. So we're dealing with this water and the fires. Now, here's where I want to go with this. Chris, I'm giving you your cue now. We have some cool stuff to show you. There are some networks that we are part of, natural networks. Okay, uh, so we've talked many times on the show about the water, how all of the water on the planet is traveling around the same cycles, right? This one here, which one? This is water. This is called the hydrosphere. Okay, so depending on how water moves, um, this is affecting us, whether we like it or not. This interconnected system all around the world, where all of the water is
Hmm.
evaporating, moving based on heat and cold temperatures, whether you're closer to the equator or closer to the poles, water is moving. Okay, that's good on that one, Chris. Water is moving all around the planet and into the atmosphere, whether we like it or not. Okay, Chris, let's show the magnetic shield right now. Now here's another one. There are things called solar winds, wind from the sun.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
inside of the earth,
Essentially it's radiation from the sun. Yeah.
that's what's coming on the left side here. Inside of the earth is a core of iron, molten iron. That and metal, molten metal in the core of the earth, and the earth is spinning. It's causing magnetic fields.
Yeah.
Those
They're
magnetic
protecting
fields are
us. Yeah.
protecting the earth.
Right.
Yeah, this is crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Protecting the earth.
Insane.
Chris, if you rewind a little bit more again, and even further back, if you can rewind a little bit more. So yeah, these are these different magnetic fields coming out of the earth based on the molten lava or whatever's inside the earth. None of this is spiritual. None of this is spiritual. It has spiritual roots, but these are forces that that are passing through us, that we're susceptible to, that are interfacing with our environment. That's the solar winds coming from the left. Okay, thanks, Chris. And let's show that first one. Yeah, the lithosphere. There's many, many, many systems. I don't
Hmm.
know. I think I counted like 10 as I was. We're not going to show 10. We'll just show this as the last one. This one's called the lithosphere. So there's underneath the crust of the earth, there's another, I think it's a little further forward till we got to the cross section. There we go. There we go. Now watch this. Look how thin the crust is. It'll zoom in a little bit more on there. Um, just that outer part is the
Yeah.
crust, and like that's called the lithosphere in there. Now, all of that is also a dynamic. Okay, so that's cool, Chris. Thanks. So what what we're seeing from this. Remember earlier in the show we talked about radio waves. Until we had a radio, we couldn't understand this concept that an idea can travel from here to here. Something I say could travel from there to there.
Hmm.
We have a premise in the wisdom of Kabbalah that all of this that all humans are connected. That but we feel that we're all autonomous islands. We feel like we're all an island unto ourselves, and it doesn't matter what I think, and it doesn't matter, what I desire inside. If just whatever I do, I don't know what, but everything we think, everything we do is all connected. Bala Sulam has that amazing quote in The Individual and the Collective.
The peace, or peace in the world. One of them.
What does he say? He's like,
Chris, can you pull
um,
up that quote where Baraslam talks about the? There we go. It's peace in the world. Do not be surprised if I mix together the well-being of a particular collective with the well-being of the whole world, because indeed we've already come to such a degree where the whole world is considered one collective and one society. Right? You know what? You know what kills me about this quote though? That is when it was written. That's the most amazing thing to me. This is a Kabbalist writing this 100 years ago. Now, 100 years ago, the world was such a different place. The concept of global interconnection that he's talking about is not something that was tangible at all. We're talking not just pre-internet and social media and Facebook days, which is less than 15 years ago or something like that. We're talking about a time where people would have to send letters to each other, that would reach each other in matters of weeks. We're talking about a world that was so different in terms of global connectivity. We're talking about a world pre-globalization. We're talking about a world that was still very much separate continents in many different ways. And yet comes a Kabbalist and says, look, we're one thing already. What's going on? We are one planet, one society, one humanity, not just in the poetic sense of it. He goes on in this article, we're not going to read all of it, but he goes on about the interdependence, that the livelihood, the well being, the health of an individual depends on the health and well being of the whole system. And for that, he doesn't say it poetically. The Kabbalist says this because he feels the interconnected reality, the interconnected network, the spiritual network that connects all human beings into one collective entity, that network of desires. And so, because he senses that and he experiences reality through that lens, then for him, it's very obvious. It's all very clear. But the for us, only now 100 years later, we're beginning to see, oh wow, there's like a virus, and if there's an infection in one place, there's an infection everywhere. That's a problem.
I don't. I
you
still
know
no. I still don't think it's clear to people. I really
I think
don't.
it's
I
really
think
becoming clearer. You're right. It probably is, far
as
less
much as
clear than.
we knew that polluting the water, the land, whatever,
Hmm.
but I don't. I mean, we we're not stopping buying stuff.
Right.
Where do we think our $5 T-shirts are coming from? You know, like
Yeah.
how is that happening if
Well,
not through lots of pollution and lots of
yeah.
exploitation?
Here's yes, absolutely. The problem is that we've created such an infrastructure that is our daily reality, and people are of today are born into this reality. We don't know anything else. And today, if you try to be green, you have to go, not that this is a solution kabbalistically. Of course, it's just a superficial, one short-sighted, thin layer of the problem, of the root problem. But if you even try that, if you try to be green, to recycle, to lower your carbon footprint, all that stuff, right? All that jazz. If you're into that, this is difficult. You have to like go. It's like swimming upstream. You have to like fight
It's
through
impossible. It's too
windmills.
far. It's too far gone.
Exactly. Because we're
The
already in such in an infrastructure, such a system that it's our daily reality. It's very much,
speaking of
yeah.
the inanimate, vegetative, animate, and then the human degree, those 4 degrees again. 350 million years ago, a bunch of stuff died. A bunch of plants and animals. The entire, pretty much, or all of our modern life, of everything we attribute to our modern life, from the internet to our cars to our clothes to everything, was fueled by dead animals and plants. Like
Yeah.
everything. Imagine like when you're
Yeah.
pumping into your car, it's like
You're
dead
pumping
sea
into your
life,
car the dead
dead sea
dinosaurs.
life.
Then
Yeah, dead sea
then
life. You turn
right.
on your computer, it's
Mm-hmm.
running on dead
Yeah.
plants and animals.
Yeah.
You turn on your lights, it's running on dead plants and animals.
Oh,
You listen to
and it's
music,
everywhere. It's in our
everything,
food, it's in our plastics, it's in our transportation
our
system,
clothes.
obviously,
Yeah, well,
everywhere.
I mean,
Yeah.
if any
Sure.
synthetics, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
also. Anything with any kind of plastic in it, it's just dead plants and animals that are. So
Yeah.
the entire civilization, modern civilization, is built off of dead plants and animals. Here's a great. I mean, this one just cracked me up so much. There's a big race, and this is the futility of it, and this is why it's such a good time to just completely destroy the earth. Uh, Tongue in cheek laugh, haha. Okay, just the futility of the situation. Okay, there's a race now to get to solar, to get us off of carbon based
Oh, yeah.
fuels.
Right.
Okay, so there's a
Green
race
energy.
towards
Green
green
energy.
energy.
Yeah.
So there is a race towards solar. Why? The sun is free and it's clean. I mean, it's not clean if you're near it or outside of the atmosphere, but inside here, as long as we still have our ozone and everything, we're kind of safe in here.
Yeah.
The sun is free, and
Cleaner than producing, energy from fossil fuels. Yeah.
right,
Okay.
right.
Mhm.
So far, um, so there's a race to make cost-effective solar panels, because this is going to be the new thing, solar, right?
Mhm.
It's going to be electric cars, and electric this, and electric that, and electric that. So the funny thing, that the thing reason I was like laughing when I read this article, is that the solar panels are being made in factories in China that run on coal. So the more that they
Right.
push to
Right.
drive costs down, and the more that they're fighting to get lower cost solar panels, and to get them made quicker and more, so then the more they're pushing the factories, and the factories are going to run as quick and cheap as they can in order to sell them cheap. And so the factories that are making solar panels are running on coal. It's and,
Yeah,
and
it's ironic.
in order to make lots and lots and lots of solar panels, they're going to burn lots and lots of coal. So
Right.
without this interconnected mindset, right, and the person who orders their solar panels and puts them up on their house feels really good about it, and
Yeah.
the salesperson who sold it to them feels really good about it, and they see their savings every month, but it'll take them 2 generations to clean up all of the mess that they left in producing them. So really, our solutions, we have to start to understand that our solutions are not in the still vegetative inanimate. Just rearranging molecules around is not going to give us world peace.
Yeah.
That's
The
not where the Kabbalists are pointing us.
Yeah, well, before world peace, even let's just keep talking about balance with the natural habitat that we that we inhabit, that even just that. Um, yeah, absolutely. The problem is that we need to understand what is it that we are not in balance with. This is the issue, because we look at what's happening with the planet now. global warming and this climate destabilization, and of course there's always, all the politics of it, those against it, those in favor of it, it's real, it's not real, all that stuff, right? But we're seeing now this recent increase in natural disasters, floods, heat waves, and so on. And we're gradually seeing that there is a connection between us and the laws of nature. But the essence of that
But
connection,
where do you see that? Where do you see that we see that?
well, gradually it's becoming more and more discussed. Um, take a look at there's this article just from a couple of days ago. 14,000 scientists. Chris, see if you can pull it up. 14,000 scientists. Uh, they signed a joint statement, for instance, saying that what we're doing with the planet, this over exploitation of the planet in every realm of human engagement, it cannot be solved with trying to attack combat, right, global warming, or or something else, depletion, pollution. There you go. What do you got there, Chris? Scientists warn that the Earth is literally dying. That's the one. That's the one. Go to the wait. Take a look at the subtitles. Policies to combat the climate crisis or any other symptoms should address the root cause. See, there's already some understanding. Human over
It's too bad it's on
exploitation
a site
of the
called The Bite
planet.
that nobody knows about.
Yeah, it's
Who
actually
reads The Bite?
it's actually a section in futurism.com, which is quite popular.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay, fine.
go to the maybe last paragraph there, or second to last paragraph, something like that. Yeah. The problem, the experts say, is that focusing too much on any single issue might become like a wild goose chase. That's something that people, at least those experts, the earth scientists and so on, they are starting to see. You can't try to, oh, let's quickly try to recycle, let's lower gas emissions, let's lower carbon footprint, let's try to fight the you just can't fight all these things. As soon as you put your focus on one thing, you have a problem in another place. Speaks to that
As soon as you
example.
build all your solar panels, you're creating
Exactly.
cool.
Exactly. They say that the overall problem, more than any single factor or hazard, is humanity's winner take all approach to planetary stewardship.
Oh, this like
Wait.
I feel like I'm kicked in the stomach when you say it.
We need to stop treating the climate emergency as a standalone issue. Global heating is not the sole symptom of our stressed Earth system. Oregon University, blah, blah, blah. Policies to combat the climate crisis or any other symptoms should address the root cause, over exploitation of the planet. Okay. So what I find as progress here, Kabbalistically, right? Kabbalistically, what I find as progress here, and I'll tell you what I find as still lack of understanding, is progress is that at least the intelligentsia, let's say, or the people who are researching this, they are beginning to see that, whoa, their problem is big. It's too big to try to manage. It's too big to try to manhandle and try to just kind of fight it on one front. It is an integral problem that we're facing. That's number one. They also recognize that the problem is our general attitude to the natural world, over exploitation of the planet. Now the question is, and that's something that they're still not getting to, how do you solve that? What are you supposed to do with that? And why do we have this urge to overexploit the planet? This is the very thing that makes us human. The reason you're not an elephant or a monkey or a zebra that takes only the food that it needs, and if a lion, the lion catches the deer or the zebra or whatever and eats how much it needs, and that's it. They're not. You don't take more than what you need. The cells in your body.
But what is this thing though? Hold on. What is this thing that, like, you see the obese person getting the fast food. But that's an easy target because we're all that obese person getting the fast food in many aspects of our lives, right? Whether it's how we think about something in our life or everything. We're doing that all the time. We're all that obese person eating the fast food in what is it about us that we're unable to, like, we know we're killing ourselves
Yeah.
and we can't, not only, but here's the problem. It's not only that we can't stop, we don't feel it. Like, if I felt like I'm standing in a fire, I would get out right away.
Yeah.
But it's like we don't feel like we're standing in a fire
The,
until we're actually standing in a fire. What is that?
this is the
Like
most
we
paradoxical thing, isn't it? This is this is I'm gonna use words that we're gonna need to
go,
explain,
go.
but this is because the system of Malchut and the system of Bina are not in balance in the human level. That's the thing that differentiates us and all the other levels of nature, the still, the vegetative, the animate. In all those other levels, the quality of we call it Bina and Malchut from, from the spiritual perspective, from the non-material perspective, but it manifests in our ability to balance giving and receiving. All of nature knows how to do that. From the cells in your body, in your lungs, that create the inhale and exhale that you do repeatedly in this perfect cycle, to the cells in your heart that are beating, and then the heart pumps blood to flow to all your organs, and then it contracts in order to bring the blood back to the tides and in the ocean. Everything is just perfectly harmoniously balanced because these qualities, these non-material qualities that govern these levels of nature, quality of, I said Malchut and Bina, essentially, to be simple, it's a quality of reception and the quality of bestowal or giving. These qualities are in balance, and they are in a more complex balanced the higher the life form is. So a rock knows how to maintain itself because its forces of reception and forces of bestowal are, they just know how to maintain a simple homeostasis, a simple balance. And the vegetative level knows how to do more complex actions by using the quality of reception and the quality of bestowal in a more advanced way, and the animal level even more. But in us, we have the biggest, most advanced qualities of reception and giving. This is why, we can trick each other and do business with each other and profit off each other in ways that are cunning and sophisticated that animals just don't do, because we have this potential. But when it comes to maintaining the balance, it just doesn't happen automatically on the human level. So nature, still vegetative and animate, knows how to maintain the balance. For us, we have the biggest potential to create amazing harmony because we have the most quality, the most ability to bestow and to receive, but we don't know how to bring them together because we have to learn that. That's the whole difference between, what's the difference between the human in general, the human and the monkey, let's say, right? The monkey is a very smart animal, but the learning capacity of the monkey is very limited as opposed to that of the human. So the animal, the take an ox, he's born, he already knows how to walk within a few hours. It doesn't make him more able and more capable than the human. On the contrary, it means that it is more programmed. It is more instinctually driven. In our case, if you will not be in a supportive, loving, warm environment that will care for you as a newborn, you will not survive. And if you will not be taught how to walk and see others who walk next to you and learn how to do the same and mimic their actions, you will not walk. You will not develop. And so the same with regards to our balance with nature. It has to, the balance with nature, the balance between Bina and Malchut has to happen in with our conscious participation.
So
That's
Bina is the force of bestowal here, and Malchut is the force of reception, and these are the two forces that are
that
out of balance in us.
Yes, they govern all of nature. These two forces create all the levels of life. They are in perfect balance and harmony between them in the vegetative, and the animate levels of life. But on the human level, they have the most potential, meaning they have the most a dissonance between them that can be connected in new ways. But the balance between them does not happen instinctively. We have to be there in the middle, in between, as if absorbing the tension between that plus and minus, between receiving and giving, and being able to be a conduit in between. If we learn how to do that, we will acquire the mind of nature. We will dance with that life force of nature, and that's what nature wants from us. That's why it makes us so egoistic, and it makes us overexploit the planet. That's why we find ourselves, trashing the place and being obese, and engineering food that poisons us, and basically just ruining our own life. That's why, because that is some because being in balance is something we have to pass through our consciousness. We have to learn that. We have to become that. The animals are already there, but they didn't do anything for that. It's an instinct. It's a program. We, the conscious element of creation, are we have to get there of our own accord, and that's the big difference.
What's
Um,
interesting, what's interesting is that we would never ever even be talking about this if it wasn't for all the floods, if it wasn't for all the fires, if it
right.
wasn't for all these things that are poking us.
Yes. Yeah. And this is why, to go back to the conclusion, and this is why the with human beings, it's like the animals feel the tsunami before it comes. Cats and dogs, and other animals, they know they feel it way before it comes. They're connected to the natural system. They go to the higher places. With the humans, it's like, oh, look, there's a wave
No, no,
coming.
hold on. Here's some,
It
hold
looks
on a second.
great.
When the pressure
Yeah,
changes, when it's going to rain, for example, someone who has bad knees, they feel it in their knees also.
right.
Okay.
Hmm.
When there is, you pay attention. You ever been like, I used to be like kind of a hippie, and the women that I was hanging out with, like they would bleed at the same time. Like
Okay.
they all lived together and whatever. So we actually do feel these things. We talked about this many times. We do feel a lot of forces. We don't have the language to interpret. We don't have the kind of the what would we
Wait,
say? We don't have the
wait. We feel the
we feel
those
things pressing
the
on us.
the
We
the,
just
the
don't know what they
phenomena
are.
the phenomena that you're talking about, like the example you gave, that has to do with this. Remember, we are not just the human level. We are comprised of the still vegetative and animate level as well. Every new level in nature already consists of the previous levels. So with us, that's why we're constantly in conflict. Our body feels. Take food for example, right? Isn't it like you said, the obesity thing is such a good example, and it's something so close to every person. Like, we go through this all the time, right? When you eat something that's bad for you, why do human beings eat things that are bad for them? Isn't that the most stupidest thing? Animals eat things that are bad for them. Animals don't eat junk food. They don't eat stuff that makes them
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
unhealthy.
A human wants a certain emotion. A human wants a
Hmm.
certain emotion, and he's going after an emotion. So he makes a calculation. How can I feel good right now? And these are the few options I have available to me because I'm stuck in my house, because I don't have the friends around me that I want. I don't have what I actually want is to feel rich and healthy and loved and cared for and full of energy, but I'm going to eat, you know, I don't know, this
Right. Right.
cheesesteak, because that's all it's the only option I
but
really
but but
have.
okay, so that is
I want eternal love, but I'm going to eat this cheesesteak because I
no,
think
but
that's really the problem.
so essentially you are confusing your human level with your donkey level, with your bodily level. Your body belongs to the animate level of your existence. Your
I want
your
eternal love, but I'll take a large fries and a small Coke, please.
your emotional needs have to do with your human level. You maybe you don't know how to fulfill them, and that's why you try to fulfill them through your what you do know how to do, which is eat, right? So the problem is that we are this is exactly the example I was getting at. We are confused between these levels. And that's why for animals, they follow their instincts, and that's it. It's a
Deborah,
simple calculation. For
Deborah
us,
wants to
yeah,
know if. Oh, sorry.
free will is involved, and the truth and false and bitter and sweet are mixed up for us. For the animal, they just go towards the better grass, the better food, the better climate, and they take what they need, they maintain balance, and that's it. For us, we might think that something that's sweet, something that's really tastes great, is also what we need, but it might be exactly what we don't need. These systems are in confusion within us, and that's again, it's because Bina and Malchut are not in balance on the human level. All right, just go ahead.
Deborah just wanted to know: is it appropriate to tell her next door neighbor um, that it's all what are the issues because of the Bina Malchut imbalance? No, Deborah, I don't know if you saw the beginning of the show. Um, this is our issue. We need to be able to speak what we're receiving from the Kabbalists. We need to speak about it in a language. We need to process it and understand what it means in ourselves, and then talk about it in a normal way so people can understand and do something with it. That's a process of actually taking our matter and forming our matter. That mud that's being pushed through that thing, working with the materials, understanding where is Bina in me, where is Malchut in me, how are these because both of those forces are forces of the Creator. We don't look at one as good and one as bad. Actually, they're two forces that need to exist in order for us to move towards spirituality. Otherwise, rocks, there'd just be a world of spiritual rocks. Uh, the purpose we have this excessive will to receive, as Bala Sulam calls it, is so that it can be filled with an excessive amount of light. So we need this excessive malchut in order to be filled with this excessive bina, and this is what we find ourselves in now. Hold on a second.
What?
We're allowing actually to be human. In our minds, we're thinking, I need to recycle. I need to put solar panels. I need to do this. I need to do that. But if I understand that actually, and now we can see it because we looked at the lithosphere today, we looked at the magnetosphere today, we looked at the hydrosphere today, and there's another 7 or 8 or however many, and I'm sure there's dozens of these different fields that are including all of us. So instead of thinking that I need to recycle, I need to do that, if I start feeling my inner sensations as all coming from that same interconnected system,
Right.
and I start allowing the malchut in me, because what you were saying, Asaf, was that I need to have both of these forces balanced inside of me. Doesn't mean I only have one, or doesn't mean I only have the other. But I need to start to work and feel how that same system, like sometimes it's pulling the water towards the equator. It's lifting the water flows to the equator and then it goes up. And then it moves towards the cool parts of the planet, and then it falls down. So that's the water, right? And the same thing with the molten iron and the other metals inside the earth that are.
Yeah, no. I would just the picture um I would encourage our friends who are listening to envision is this. All of those examples that you're describing, right? And the magnetosphere and the lithosphere and the interconnectedness of life, really. The even the air we breathe, I think like half of the oxygen on the planet is thanks to some little tiny atom-sized creatures in the oceans, or something like that. The All of this system is very intricate. It's infinitely interdependent, just like your body, right? There's all these networks, the lymph system and the skeletal system and the muscular system and the respiratory system, the digestive system. They're all interconnected. The nervous system, of course. So it's ridiculous to think that human beings are outside of that interconnectedness, and yet that's exactly our immediate day-to-day feeling. So the picture that we need to consciously, I would even, sorry to be, I would even use the word forcefully. The picture that we need to forcefully put ourselves into, just like putting ourselves through how did you call that example? The tube, that
It's
thing,
like
right?
it's like a long tube and a bunch of mud. You push it on
Right,
one side,
right.
and
So
human comes out the other side.
so here's how we do that. We need to push ourselves to it. And it's almost like we need to push ourselves into the womb. The womb is all of nature. Nature is a womb for us. At the moment, we don't feel it as such. We are trying to just take what we need from it, consume what we can, use it however we were able to, exploit it, and use it to our advantage. We don't understand that it is filled with forces that are designed in Kabbalah it's called mercy. It's not anything that has to do with people having mercy on each other. It means
Use the
that
Hebrew word. The language.
chasadim. Chasadim, yeah, it's better to use that, less confusing. The nature is full of these forces of nurturing that are designed to take us in, to nurture us, to raise us to a higher level of existence. Nature's waiting for us to enter that beautiful, harmonious interconnectedness that exists in all of nature, except that it needs our volitional, conscious, and I say it again, even forcing ourselves there. We need to really want to get in there. We need to. That's why, by nature, we keep forgetting about it. We think we are separate islands. We think we are 8 billion independent, separated individual beings. And that's what I need to care about, my business, and that's it. And this is done on purpose. Nature as if pushed us out of her womb so that we can now decide consciously. And we can only do this now in this great transition, in this 21st century. This is the only time that we can begin, that humanity on a global scale is able to do this. Before that, only a handful of people, unique individuals, highly developed individuals, Kabbalists of the past, were able to do this. Now all of humanity is connected. Nature is gradually pushing us. And until we get that, until we recognize that, we're just going to see another flood and another fire and another virus and another food shortage and another climate destabilization and whatever you want, until we'll get it, that nature wants our heart, nature wants our mind to be in line with it. That's where we need to go. So
I
Earth,
am,
so
first of
Earth
all-
is Earth is not kicking us out; it's inviting us in. All right.
I was googly eyes there. I'm so grateful to have friends like you and
As am
Chris.
I.
Wow. Just the world is so. Oh man, maybe one day we'll have a channel we can curse on. Just not because I want to curse, but sometimes it just allows you to really.
Yeah, that's another. It's another funny thing how people might think that Kabbalists are supposed to be saints. Wear white, speak quietly, and be. Kabbalists are actually the most.
Don't just save it for
Okay.
another show. Anyway,
Okay.
the world is just in such a mess. The world is in such a mess, and I mean, really, it's not really where we can see the same way that we looked today at the lithosphere and the magnetosphere and the hydrosphere, that we don't see with our eyes, but those systems are there. We can calm down a little bit and start to understand that all of the things that we see happening, they seem very bad. We need to start to accept everything that's happening in a good way, that nature's pushing us and everything can move towards the good. We don't need to go into a war that we don't need to go into more and more. There will be more and more pressure from nature. There will be, because that's the process we're in, but we can rise above these things internally and create this network that exists between all of us, and that's where nature is pushing us. And by us doing it and making that connection, will reveal a life above. Here's the crazy part: it's above this physical world. We'll enter into an eternal reality together. Why are we opening that up when the show is already 2 minutes past the end? I don't know. It is great to be here with everybody. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. I saw so much activity. I couldn't read it. Asaf, who'd you see over there in the chats?
Oh, that's there's great
Max,
activity.
Yeah, tell me who.
I really, yeah, so it will go. Okay.
Just
All right.
quick
let's
read,
do
and
it.
then let's start the song.
I saw Raymond and Azrael and Slightly Slanted Sleuth and Brenda and Julie and Annie and Yetzi and Chris and Seraphim and Mark and Anonymous Daily Motivation. Hi there from Ethiopia. I don't know if you were with us before. Hey, Debbie. Hadul. Hey, Maria. There was Lisa and Muhammad and Timothy and a bunch more. Frederick. Oh boy, I don't. Inspector. I'm probably missing some people here. Inspector Opus. Okay. Hi there. And this is just what I can. Max Franks. Hey. Just kind of what I can scroll through quickly, trying to catch it all. And Patricia and One with Nature and Sarah and Deborah and Ruth and Walter on my other screen here, and Siv and Kevin. Hey, Kevin. All right, Mechanical Elves. Hey, good to see you. So yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks
Yeah.
for being here with us. Thanks, Chris, behind the scenes. And thank you, Asaf, over there in Israel. We will see everyone next Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Until then, think good thoughts about each other. Read the books. And we will do this. We will open this up together. See you next time.
All right.
What makes your heart sing with you? We wanna know, does connection get you boiling with you? We want you to know, did you make your heart sing? need you to know this connection got us pulling. It do. We come to tell you of the future. Teaches love by one and all. We spend our days doing good to others, and we all come to be as one. We wanna know, do we make your heart sing? We do. We wanna know if we can sing this love song to you. We want you to know that you make our hearts sing. You do. And we need you to know we sing this song to bring joy to you. We are living in a world of love. We are singing all in one song of love. The reason for living